normally the discussion about linear velocity or linear speed would start with an activity we do in class 8. So what we do is we take a couple of classes off, we'll go to the basketball court, and we'd start off by measuring using a measuring tape a 20-meter track on the basketball court. So this is the 20-meter track. So we will mark off a starting point, we'll mark off an ending point, and we will divide the entire group into two parts. Okay, so typically now we are a group of 19. So one section would be 9 people say, and another would be 10 people. We'll make a sequence of people, and what we do is we try to measure the time they take to go from this end to this end. All right. Now, how you go from this end to that end is left to each individual. People sometimes choose to sprint, so they want to know what is the fastest they can go. Some people choose to jog, some people choose to walk. So whatever it is that you do is fine with me. Once we have done that, we'll organize ourselves in such a way that there will always be somebody who is going to take down the timings of the person who is crossing the line, and then there will be a clapper who will start the people off. So they stand behind the line, they say ready, set, and then there's a clap, and then people start doing their activity. The whole activity is repeated 3 times for each individual doing the same activity, of course, and then the data is noted down. So at the end of it, for the entire batch, we will have an information that will be tabulated in this way. So we'd have serial number, the name of the runner, the first timing, second timing, and third timing, and also whether they sprinted, jogged, ran, whatever. So this looks like I'll put it as a walk. And then the next thing would be we'd find out the average or the mean time that is taken for them to do the same activity, which you find out by adding all 3 timings and dividing it by the number of data pieces, which in this case is 3. Finally, we find out their average speed by dividing the distance traveled by the time taken. Speed, if you remember, can be written as distance traveled by time taken to travel that distance. And when you do that, you get something called as average speed out of it. Now, I just cooked up some numbers on the spot over here based on my experience of how things come out in the past. And we got 2 pieces of information at the end. One person's average speed was 3.79 meters per second, and another person ZZY is 1.50 meters per second. So I've written down that piece of information over here. Typically, there will be so many 19 individual pieces of information like that. And now my question is that how do you interpret this information? So what does this piece of information tell you about the activity? Something that you can be sure of. So could some people share what you can make out of that information to begin the discussion with? Yeah.
Can I say?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so we can tell that, definitely we can tell that out of these 3 tries.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Out of these 3 tries, the average speed was 3.79 meters per second. We can definitely tell.
Yeah, but that seems a little bit like stating the obvious. Okay, so that's just a statement you would like to make. Fine, no problem. Anything else? Anybody else?
Yeah, me, Ishan.
Ishan, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so for every 3.79 meters, then that XSY travels, ZZY travels 1.5 meters.
Okay, so so you can say that every second. So what does this information mean? Meters per second is that XXY during this event did 3.79 meters every second to ZZY's 1.5 meters for the same period of time. So if they were doing it together, and mind you, these two may not have done it together, they might have done it at different points of time. even though they did not run together or they did not do the event together, by this information you are able to say, however, who will be the faster out of the two. Correct? That would be one interpretation of what Ishan just said. If XXY runs 3.79, moves 3.79 meters per second, while ZZY only moves 1.5 meters per second, then XSY has been faster than ZZY in this activity. Okay,
Sir,
that's good. Yeah, Rohan.
sir, but while running or walking, sometimes in the beginning you're faster and then in the middle you slow down.
Exactly. So the thing is, while you can say that XXY ran or moved 3.79 meters per second in comparison to ZZY's movement in the same 1 second, would it be accurate to say that XXY started the run and finished the run at this speed, 3.79 meters per second? Like Ruhani is observing, that is obviously not true, because in the beginning, when you start off, you are at rest and then you increase your speed. And then as you are running, you can become faster, you can become slower. And obviously just when you're going to cross the finish line, you do slow down a little bit. So therefore, this information is not telling you what their actual speed would have been while they did the activity. Correct? It might have been 3.79 at some point of time. It might have been less than 3.79 at some times, and it might have been even more than 3.79 at some times. You just can't be sure in this way, the way that we have done it. Yeah.
It might be like average meters per second.
Yes, and the information is given out because you say average speed, right? So the average speed is not an indicator of either your top speed or your slowest speed. So the information that is given in this does not indicate either your top speed or your slowest speed. This information is not present in this. For that, you need to collect data in some other way. Maybe what you need to do is you need to fix a GPS device on them, and then as they are running, you need to collect the GPS device's information in perhaps milliseconds. Okay, and then you'd have to put it in a computer, get the information out, and that may tell you a more accurate picture of what their top speed was and what their slowest speed was. But in this activity, we obviously didn't do anything like that, so it does not give that kind of information. This only gives you a kind of
Sir,
average speed.
Average of the speed.
yeah, so this is a short this thing. So what if the distance was even shorter than 20 meters?
Yeah, perhaps to push your point a little bit, we can either make the distance lesser than 20 meters, because I'm guessing what you're trying to think is, in order to get this more closer to this information,
Yeah.
you can reduce the distance, but of course you can also reduce the time interval in which you are measuring their speed. So instead of instead of measuring their time at the end, let us say that we put people every 5 meters.
Put different people there.
Yeah.
But how does it make that
Wait,
make a difference?
not like that. Each one of them has a stop clock. You get it?
So they're measuring the time.
They are
at
measuring the
different-
time. Okay. So then you can give a better picture. You can compare each one of their timings, find out the average speed for them to cross 5 meters, right?
Yeah,
Then
you can see the zones.
Then you can get you will get 4 average speeds, that is for every 5 meters. And then you can tell, okay, in which quarter. So you can say this is the first quarter, this is the second quarter, this is the third quarter, and this is the fourth quarter. So you can say in which quartile did they actually run the fastest, and in which quartile they actually ran the slowest. But then the same problem would apply. You will know for 5 meters, but you won't know exactly which is the top speed and which is the low speed. So if you want to do that, then you have to divide the quartiles also up. You get it?
Yeah.
More and more divisions. So instead of doing that and making it very complicated, what you can do is, technology is available with us now. Fit them with a GPS device, let them run, instruct the GPS device to calculate the speed every, you can even do 100th or even 1000th of a second. GPS devices can do that. So they will calculate the speed every 100th of a second. Then you will have a very accurate information, more accurate information of the top speed and the slowest speed. In fact, people who train in athletics for track and field events, like the 100-meter dash, 200-meter, 400 meters at international level or even at a national level, they must be doing this kind of a thing, right? They must be wearing a GPS device to track, like at what stage of their running do they run the fastest, where do they need to improve themselves, where do they need to train more, etc., etc. So it must be very useful for them to be able to do that kind of a thing. But coming back to our class, the point being that when you find out the average speed of the object, you are doing a average across a large distance, 20-meter distance. So this information does not mean that the person actually ran 3.79 meters every second for the entire 20-meter duration, nor does it mean that this person ran or walked 1.5 meters every second for the entire duration. Okay, so that is the importance of average speed. So when you say average speed, what you are trying to tell is that if you are going to make a calculation, like Ishan was talking about a journey he made yesterday. So let's say, for example, that you are coming from your home in Mumbai, let's say, to school. So we take an average distance, roughly the distance between school and there as being, school and Mumbai as being about 200 kilometers. And you say that if I am able to do an average speed of about, let us say, 50 kilometers per hour, okay, which is pretty slow if you think about it, then how much time is it going to take for me to cover 200 kilometers? Okay, so you can then make an estimate that, okay, if we travel non-stop and we do 50 kilometers per hour on average, which means we could be going faster when there is no traffic and there is a 4-lane expressway and all that, or we could be going slower when there is traffic, if it is raining, if we are going uphill, etc., etc. Then you say that I can estimate that it will take about approximately 4 hours to get there. That's not acceptable in the sense that you say that 4 hours is too much to do this journey, it's only 200 kilometers. Let us do it at a time when there will be very less traffic. So you may say that, okay, let's start at 4 a.m. from our house in Mumbai, and then we can do a much better average speed. We can do about 100 kilometers per hour because there isn't much traffic on the road at that time. And then we can make the journey in something like 2 hours. I mean, 100 kilometers per hour is risky. You shouldn't be doing it in 2 hours, but it is possible then to do that. Okay, let's say it's an emergency and you have to do this. Okay, so that does not mean, of course, that the vehicle will be always going at 100 kilometers per hour. That's what I'm trying to emphasize. Okay, an average speed does not mean that the vehicle goes at that exact speed throughout the journey. That's simply impractical. So if you want to know the exact speed of any object, then like Ruhani says, either you have to reduce the distance across which you are measuring it, which is what we attempted to do over here, or you have to reduce the time interval. And in fact, both means exactly the same. Time is more doable for us, so therefore you have to reduce the time interval. And when you do that, the speed that you get is another kind of speed, which is the instantaneous speed. And the instantaneous speed is when you look at the speedometer of the car. You know, let's say you're going on a car journey and your dad or your mother or your elder brother or your elder sister is driving the car, or your driver is driving the car, then you look at the dial, right? There is a dial which, or there is a digital dial which shows you the speed, and you see over there that it reads 60 kilometers per hour. Typically there is another one for miles per hour also, but anyway. And at that point of time, when you look at it, it shows 60 kilometers per hour. That means that at that point of time when you are observing it, it is going at 60 kilometers per hour. That is called the instantaneous speed. So the difference between what is an instantaneous speed and what is the average speed that we mentioned over here, that should be clear to you. If you got
The
only
difference
that
is-
one thing, that's good enough for today's session. Now, do you have any doubts or questions?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, ask.
So, like, let's say I'm walking. Let's say I'm not walking, okay? Let's say I take one step
Yeah.
or two steps. But then, like, one step, and then someone says that, oh, you're going at 1 kilometer per hour or whatever. But then once that one step is not enough to determine what speed I'm going at, right? So then in a car, how does the speedometer know that, like, even if you're slow, when you're slowing down, then the speedometer ka dial also it comes down.
Yeah, so, well, think it through. I'm sure if you think about it, you will get the answer. Basically, it must be that the speedometer is then connected to something that is moving, turning. So what could it be
Sir,
that?
I think it's the RPM of the car's wheels.
No, RPM is one different thing. Let's not go into that now. But you know that there is a speedometer in the car which shows in any automobile, which shows the speed. So what can it be connected to, which then tells you what is the instantaneous speed of that object? And it responds like what she's saying. When
Accelerator.
when the car slows down or the bike slows down, the speedometer immediately responds by going down. The dial goes down. Or if you speed up, it immediately responds. So she's saying, how can it happen so quickly? How can the response be so quickly? So how can it be? Does anybody know?
So it might be connected to the odometer.
You are using more terms. What should it be connected to so that it shows the real-time speed of the object? This is happening in real time, right?
Yeah. The wheel maybe.
Exactly. So you can imagine that the speedometer is in some way connected to the wheel or the shaft that points the two wheels, what do you call them? Axle, or it could be also connected to the transmission that turns the axle. So in any case, anything that is rotating, right, you can connect the speedometer to that, and the speed with which the speedometer turns, that causes the dial also to turn. So the moment you take your foot off the accelerator or hit the brakes, the turning of the wheels reduce, which means the turning of the transmission will reduce, which means the dial will immediately go down. So do you get that? How they design it in such a way that you get a real-time sense of what the speed of the vehicle is. So the question is, how does the police radar work? Basically, something that checks whether you are exceeding the speed limit or not, right? So what happens is that when a car is moving on a highway and there is a radar gun which is placed at fixed location, or it can be a handheld radar gun also. So what happens is the car is moving along, okay, in this direction. Now there is a device which has been placed over here, which is the radar gun. Now what the radar gun does is it shoots out a laser beam. It can be actually, I think they use sound as the device. So sorry, as the wave. So there is a sound wave that is emitted, high frequency sound wave, so it's not audible, is emitted, okay, and the sound wave will then bounce off the car and it will be reflected back. Okay, so when the sound wave goes and comes back, sound travels at something like about 330 to 340 meters per second. So it can be pretty fast going and coming, because it's going to be within a couple of 100 meters only. Now it collects the time of emitting, right, and the time of receiving. Get it? So it goes out and it comes in.
Yeah.
Okay, so first set of information. Then when the car has moved further, okay, it emits another signal, and that also then comes back. Okay, so it gets another piece of information, time for emit and time for receiving. Okay, so then by using the difference in the timing at this position and at this position, the device then calculates what is the velocity of the car. So if it is beyond a certain limit, let's say that the limit over here, generally for highways in India, it's about 80 kilometers per hour. So if the speed goes beyond 80 kilometers per hour, then it automatically starts a video camera that records the car's movement. Either that, or it sends an information to the police that this car is speeding. There may be a patrol car up ahead which will then receive the information, and that patrol car will then be on the lookout for this car. And of course, you will be stopped and fined for that.